All right. All right. We are on. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the September 9th meeting. I see we've got some people here for some proclamation signings and things this afternoon. So we'll get things started right away. First, motion on the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Ledwell, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Any additions to the agenda? None to circulate today at all, I don't believe. All those in favor? Contrary minded, the agenda is accepted. Turning to it then, first item would be the minutes of the action report from the meeting of August 26th. The motion on the minutes moved by Councillor Stoyles, seconded by Councillor Walsh. Any errors or omissions from the minutes of August 26th only? Errors or omissions from the minutes of August 26th? Hearing none. All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried. Business arising. Any business arising from those minutes of August 26th, please refer to the agenda item number when referenced. Any business arising? Going once. Going twice. No business arising. We are moving on. Proclamations. Council, we have 3 today. Might as well do them in the order that they appear here in the agenda as stands, and I'm going to do that first by reading them into the agenda. I'm going to invite somebody to come and also address them with us and advise us of any activities or plans they have relating to the activities associated with these particular proclamations. The first proclamation involves Sexual Violence Awareness Week, which is slated this year as September 15th through to the 19th, 2014. We have Janet Lee, wave at me. We have Janet Lee down here. Janet, why don't you come up and stand with me as I read this, and then I'm going to give you this fancy, oh God, we're going to try this again, microphone, and we're going to let you tell people about your plans, and we'll turn that on right there. But first I'll read the proclamation into the record. Council, it reads as follows. Whereas the Newfoundland and Labrador Sexual Assault Crisis and Prevention Centre works to provide response information and education in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador in the area of sexual violence, and whereas the NLS-ACPC is now commemorating the 15th anniversary of Sexual Violence Awareness Week, as well as the 30th anniversary of the Take Back the Night March, about 30th anniversary, to further the common goal of eliminating sexual violence. And whereas the theme for Sexual Violence Awareness Week 2014 is Breaking Barriers, which recognizes the urgent need to end sexual violence and its contributing factors so that we may have safe, healthy communities. And whereas sexual assault is a crime that can affect anyone, regardless of factors like age, gender, ability, socioeconomic status, cultural background, or other variables. And whereas the rate of sexual assault in Newfoundland and Labrador continues to be higher than the national average. I did not know that. And whereas the municipal government recognizes the need for people of our province to live in safe and caring communities where violence is unacceptable and supports efforts that raise awareness and educate the public. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Randy Sims of Mount Pearl, do hereby proclaim September 15th to 19th as Sexual Violence Awareness Week and encourage all citizens to become involved in activities organized throughout this week, to which I shall, on behalf of the city, affix my signature. And I will invite you, Janet, to tell Council about some of the activities that you have organized for the coming week.
And thank you, Mayor Sims. So as the Crisis Support Coordinator of the Sexual Assault Center, as well as the Chair of the Sexual Violence Awareness Committee, I want to welcome your engagement during this year's Sexual Violence Awareness Week. This week provides a much-needed opportunity for individuals and communities to raise awareness regarding the prevalence and scope of sexual violence. It is a week in which people are encouraged to talk openly about the realities of sexual violence in our everyday lives, while acknowledging the strengths that exist in our communities that can contribute to the prevention and elimination of sexual violence. This year's theme is Breaking Barriers, Enhancing Community Response, and I would like to offer our warmest thanks to the City of Mount Pearl for the recognition of Sexual Violence Awareness Week and extend an invitation to all citizens to the many engaging events planned throughout the week. These include, but are not limited to, our flagship event, which is a 2-day service provider training happening on the 15th and 16th of the week. We are also hosting a community barbecue and a Light Up the Night event on Wednesday, September 17th, and our annual Take Back the Night March, along with our men's vigil on Friday, September 19th. Finally, an immense thank you to the over 370 individuals who have reached out to us for support this year alone, and to the thousands of individuals who, due to barriers, have not sought support, your courage and strength inspires us to hope and work towards a community free of violence and inequality. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet, very, very much. I'm shocked to know that Newfoundland and Labrador continues to lead the country in a statistic that is not one that we can be very proud of. That being that we continue to have a higher rate of sexual assault in this province than is the national average. That's very disappointing. It goes to show that the kind of effort that you're putting in and the kind of initiatives that you've articulated here are desperately needed in our community. We applaud you and the Sexual Violence Awareness Week Committee for the work that you're doing. If there's anything we as a city and a community can do to aid you in any way in promoting both awareness, education, and hopefully prompting those who find themselves in threatening situations, particularly domestic situations, that they will reach out to your organization because the help they need can be found there. Thank you for this, Janet. Any comment from anybody at all on this, or are we going to take a snap now, are we? I got to get your likeness done here. Yes, we had to shut that down right there. We'll do that like this. Thank you, Janet, very much. Good luck with all the work, and good luck with the week. Any comments from council? Councillor Tessier. Yeah.
Dan, I'm just wondering, the rates or the incidents of sexual violence or sexual assault in Newfoundland are higher. What about conviction rates? Do you have a higher arrest conviction rates for these assaults? Because I think it's safe to say, I think we all recognize that it's a very sad reality that there are many assaults that don't get reported at all. And of course, getting convictions, especially in domestic cases, can be very challenging. So do you know anything about the conviction rates?
To be honest, I wouldn't want to speak to the specific of statistics without having them directly in front of me. I can get back to you on those stats. Basically, what we look at is that we presume that 9 out of 10 sexual assaults are not reported to the police. So we have the highest rate of reported assaults. So just as an indication, if we have 370 people that have reached out to us over the last year, but a very small number of those people, even who have reached out to us, will then reach out to the police, and then going through the court process is an even smaller percentage, and then conviction rates are even smaller than that. So it is much more prevalent than most of us, than all of us would like, and that most of us believe.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, your work is not a work, it's a calling. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council, the next proclamation. Steve Keats, where are you? All right. What is it? Same deal. Come on. We want you up here with us. No, this one is equally important. It reads as follows. This is a proclamation for Arthritis Awareness Month. And at my age now, arthritis afflicts me often. And it reads as follows, the proclamation: whereas September is known as Arthritis Awareness Month in Canada, during which the Arthritis Society promotes public awareness about this chronic disease that can affect everyone from children to the elderly. And whereas the Arthritis Society is the leading source of arthritis information and education, so that Canadians can learn more about this disease and understand their important role in prevention, treatment, and management. Whereas the Arthritis Society works towards building positive relationships with elected and government officials in order to ensure that they understand how to help relieve the burden of arthritis and to provide recommendations on how to achieve equitable access to care and treatment while encouraging all Canadians to speak up in the fight against arthritis. And whereas the Arthritis Society uses Arthritis Awareness Month to promote awareness about arthritis in communities across Canada and to raise funds through special events, individual donations, and philanthropic gifts to support programs, services, and research. And whereas the Arthritis Society is about empowering people with arthritis to live their lives to the fullest by combating the limitations which arthritis could impose day to day, and is about Canadians committing to a world without arthritis, which can be achieved through the donation of time and funds to provide help to those living with arthritis and to support innovative research to discover new and better treatments for a cure. And whereas 1 in 6 people in Canada, 1 in 6, live with this chronic pain and disability of arthritis, Through education, support, understanding, and awareness of this debilitating disease, the Arthritis Society is able to help the 4.6 million Canadians afflicted with arthritis, including nearly 100,000 in Newfoundland and Labrador, to fight it. Now, therefore, I, Randy Sims, Mayor of Mount Pearl, do hereby proclaim the month of September as Arthritis Awareness Month in the city of Mount Pearl. And on behalf of my councils and colleagues and our citizens, we affix our signature, and we would invite you, Steve, to tell us a little bit about your plans for the month for arthritis awareness.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Sims. I want to thank you first for the opportunity to be here tonight to recognize September as Arthritis Awareness Month. As you heard in the proclamation, arthritis affects about 4.6 million Canadians, which is approximately 100,000 here in Newfoundland and Labrador. At the risk of starting a trend following the stats on sexual assault, it's also more prevalent here than the national average.
Really?
In fact, it's the province with the second highest prevalence rate of arthritis in the country. So I think it's safe to say that it's hard to find someone in this province that isn't affected themselves or knows somebody who's affected. So it's an important cause for a lot of us here. The other important thing I want to note is that it's not only a disease of the elderly. It can affect anyone, regardless of age, physical fitness, including children. Many people are surprised to learn that there's actually hundreds of children living with arthritis in our province today. In addition, arthritis can sometimes be a very debilitating disease, often comes with a lot of pain. And it's also important to note that this pain is not only physical, it's also emotional, social, psychological, and financial. So that's why it's very important to raise awareness and funds to fight arthritis, and we really appreciate the efforts here tonight. And I want to thank you again for the opportunity to raise awareness.
Thank you, sir, very, very much.
And also for activities, I should note that we do have a long list of activities. You can find them on our website and our Facebook. But the one I particularly want to point out to you is on Thursday afternoon from 3 to 5 p.m. We're having an open house at our new office at 31 Peace Street. So we invite you to come join us and learn more.
Thank you, sir, very much. Thank you, Steve, very much. We'll do the same thing with this one as we've done with the others. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Congratulations, Steve, on the effort, and good luck with the month. We know how critically important it is to have this stuff done. It's pretty amazing. My God, what's wrong with us? We seem to have more of all these bad things. Well, not everything is a downer, I will say. And I don't need to actually look out and say, Christine, wave at me. I actually know, I got Christine down. I know who she is. She stood up waiting, and she knows, Christine knows the drill. She's a good director, so she knows what I'm directing. So Christine, come on up with me. I'm going to read this proclamation that I'm proud to read into the record, and then invite you to tell us about and to brag about Art Fusion.
Okay.
Whereas creativity and artistic expression can be part of every life, whether as an artist, audience member, or fan, and whereas everyone has the right to explore their creativity to the fullest in whatever capacity they choose, and whereas participation in the arts is known to increase happiness, relaxation, and life satisfaction, and whereas the citizens of Mount Pearl are becoming increasingly engaged in the arts and in the activities of the Association for the Arts in Mount Pearl, and whereas it is widely recognized that investment in the arts increases the appeal and the economic viability of a community, therefore be it resolved that I, Randy Sims, Mayor of the City of Mount Pearl, do hereby proclaim the week of September 13th to 20th to be Arts Week in the City of Mount Pearl. I encourage all citizens to use this week to find ways to participate in the arts and enhance their creativity, either on their own or through the Arts Week events offered by the Association for the Arts in Mount Pearl, to which I shall affix a signature. And Christine, I'm going to turn this microphone over to you and invite you to tell us about, well, I guess this little pamphlet right here.
You all have speaking notes. It works out perfectly.
This is good.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I'd like to introduce my co-chair, Cindy Hall. Just give us a wave there, Cindy.
Hi, Cindy.
Cindy's going to be taking over for me as chair of the Association for the Arts in Mount Pearl over the next 2 years. We have a succession plan. See how wise we are? That's good, hey? And so I'd like to thank you all again. We've just come off our best summer ever. Our activities were highly attended and everyone had a grand time. And now we're going into our 10th Art Fusion and our 5th Arts Week. And this is the beginning of our 10th anniversary year. We're very pleased that part of our 10th anniversary year celebrations will involve sharing the annex over at Admiralty House with Admiralty House Museum. That's going to be a fantastic space for us. And we're really looking forward to hosting a lot of our activities there for the next Art Fusion, hopefully, if all goes well, hey? We have spent the past 10 years providing creative opportunities, building community between artists, creating community around art. We've been making art familiar to everybody. We're following similar structures. We're strengthening people's perception of the art by adding new things. And we're trying to remove any barriers to the arts, both physical barriers and perceptual barriers. And so we have been working very hard at that to give everyone a chance to be just as creative as they'd like to be. We have lots of great activities going on this upcoming week. On Saturday we have the Art Fusion Festival. We have dancers and singers and hula hoopers and musicians and someone who's drawing caricatures. And I'm going to be telling stories. That's a very important one for you all to come to. We're training Jedis here in Centennial Park on Sunday afternoon. On Sunday night we have a murder mystery.
We're
Have
still
to come along and
battling
see.
the Empire, are we? We're still
yeah.
battling the Empire.
Oh, you know, it's an important battle.
It is.
We can't just give up.
We have to win.
Indeed we do. And we have a murder mystery on Sunday night. That's always a great time, right, Andrew? You have a good time at that? And you're hardly ever accused of murder? Yeah, there we go. So you're all welcome to join us for that. And we, as you can see on your postcard that you have in front of you, I won't read out all the events to you, but we have a load of great events going on next week, and we hope to see you at some of those things. And we're just really glad to be able to offer this, and I'm really thankful for our board members and our other volunteers and our community sponsors, and for the help of the city in making this all possible. I should also mention that Councillor Tessier is going to be one of our artists at our at Art Fusion on Saturday. She's bringing her jewelry, and which is very good because she's the only person who answered my call for councillors who might like to participate. Just saying.
We don't have a whole lot of artists, sadly, I don't think.
You don't make jewelry, you don't sing, you can't recite a poem, even a bad poem. I didn't say it had to be good. Okay, well, keep in mind the AMP rule. You have to be able to say it in front of your nan. So, okay. And, but before I surrender the microphone, Randy, you didn't ask me what you usually ask, which is about the Mount Pearl players.
Well,
and I've preempted you this time because I have
Tell
the
me
name.
more.
I have the name and email address of Alex Reynolds, an O'Donnell graduate from 5 or 6 years ago, who has her own production company, and she's interested in talking to you about getting the Mount Pearl players on the go.
Yes.
I have also included the information about the Newfoundland Labrador Drama Society,
Yep.
and how that all works and the costs incurred. And I'm sure this would be a worthwhile investment for the city, or maybe this is something you're planning to bankroll personally. I'm not sure how that's all going to work, but I know your enthusiasm will definitely generate.
I'm going to blackmail. I'm going to ask some sponsors.
Well, there we go. Anyhow, so you can get in touch with Alex and work from there. And I hope to see all of you at various events throughout the week. I know some of you are busy on Saturday, so I'll let you off the hook for that one. But
Thank you.
Thank you all again.
Yeah, some people will be busy on Saturday, but not everyone. Thank you. Christine, thank you so much. We'll do this again.
Thank you. There we go.
That's great. Thank you, Christine,
thank
very
you.
much.
And by the way, our province also has a higher than average number of artists per capita as well.
That's
So
true, too.
we
Thank
don't
God.
just have the bad, we also have the good. So there
Thank
is
God.
hope for us yet.
That's true. We, when it comes to artistic endeavor, we really do as a province punch way above our weight. I think Mount Pearl does as well. Think about some of the things that we do. So, guys, here's the deal. We're going to form a group called the Mount Pearl Players, and we're going to register and join the Newfoundland and Labrador Drama Society, and we're going to win the Newfoundland and Labrador Provincial Drama Festival. All right, that's the dream. That's the goal. The goal is not the place or to get to do a play. And by the way, you have to do a qualifying play, and then that play, after you've done it, you have to do it locally. That play has to be accepted to actually be performed and go through the adjudication process. I used to participate, I'm sorry. But don't you think just the Mount Pearl Players win the Provincial Drama Festival? Come on. I mean, opening a $34 million building is small stuff compared to this, right? All right. I just say, Christine, I went to AMP's annual meeting, I think it was, and I threw this challenge out to the group, and they've obviously taken me up on it and said, all right, you want to win that? Let's go for it. Back at you. We're going to work on this. Well, I've got phone numbers and everything. This is super. Thank you so very much. Well, thank you, guys. These are all the actors in the first play. Right. Thanks, guys. Can't be me. Can't be me. Yes, go ahead.
Christine Hannabury, whoa. Hi.
No, but
The machine, the audio does.
they're really heavy. They're whatever. Somebody's tampered with them, I think.
Has somebody played with the buttons? Buttons are so tempting. Christine Hannabury is somebody who actually puts her money where her mouth is, quite literally, when it comes to supporting the arts in Mount Pearl. Last week I was painting an electrical box, and I put it out there on my social media. Painting a box, would love for a cup of tea, dime for a cup of tea, just saying. And Christine commented and said, I'm on it. What do you need? Now, I ignored the post, expecting that my husband would read it and actually deliver me a cup of tea, but he didn't. Another story. But anyway, next, this lovely woman is coming towards me saying, what do you have in your tea? Read your Facebook. What do you have in your tea? And I said, nothing. And she was like, wonderful. She came, delivered tea, and the both of us, as I was painting an electrical box, had a fabulous chat about the initiative itself.
Yeah. By the way, the boxes look great, don't they? Have you looked at it?
They do.
The
They're
one you
looking
did,
good.
Councillor, looks
Mine
fabulous.
is not even half done.
I know
I
there's
need
more to
time.
that. I know there's
I need
more
time.
to that, but that's
Yeah.
great. That's good.
But anyway, very supportive of the arts community, quite literally, and I wanted to thank you. We take our tea very seriously.
Indeed, we do. Tea is key.
Tea's keep.
Christine, visual art in the square is next.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we need to. Yeah, we are of kindred spirit, her and I. She and I. Thank you very much, Christine. That's wonderful. It's great. I know you. I'm telling you, we could win the Provincial Drama Festival. Well, not only could we win the award, we could actually host the province's Provincial Drama Festival here. Oh, they did it in Avondale, by the way, several years ago. They hosted the Provincial Drama Festival in Avondale, and I attended that week. And I believe they won. Yeah. I believe they won. Yeah. So yeah, it's a goal. It's not just a fantasy or a dream. It's a goal. I want us to do it. Anyway, moving on. Let's move on here. First thing is first committee report. Community Services, Deputy Mayor Locke.
Your Worship, I don't have anything else to add. I mean, Christine just did my full report.
Oh, it's pretty well done.
But it is done. The two items, the Art Fusion
Art
that
Week
was
and
going
Art
to take
Fusion,
place,
yeah.
and then the Art Week. Now, she didn't get into all the details here, so let me just take, I'm impressed with the range of events here. There's a Sci-Fi for Kids event. There's the murder mystery that she made reference to. There's youth reading and writing workshops, which I think is phenomenal. Finger painting and Play-Doh work for the kids. They can get messy. There's a writer's salon, a songwriter's jam.
What's a writer's salon compared to, let's say, a writer's class? There's going to be a Stop Thinking and Write writing class at the library. What's the salon? What's that?
I think the writing class is sort of instruction in writing, but this is where they share some of the writing.
They share
I think.
their writing
Yeah,
and
I
get
think so.
feedback from other
I think that's what
writers,
it
I
is.
guess.
Christine can clarify on that.
Yeah.
And then there's a youth open mic and art display. So there's role-playing games. There's a kid crafternoon. So there's a lot of events there, very well laid out. And again, let's encourage residents to get out and dabble, explore. Maybe they'll find a creativity that they didn't know that they had. And it's free. Everything is free with the exception of the murder mystery, and I think that's a fee of $20. And they're up at the Bigs, so the snacks and the soft drink snacks and a meal or soft drinks are included. So it aims to be a great week, Your Worship. So I can't add anything other than Christine did.
Thank you,
So
sir,
that's it for me,
very,
Your
very
Worship.
much.
Thank
It
you.
is good. Art Fusion and Arts Week. Where do we circulate these? Do we aid with circulating these, guys? We do. We'll help with that. Yeah, to circulate those.
One of the things
Councillor
one of the
Stiles?
things I wanted to mention was all the signage around the city that they have put there.
Yeah.
They even have the sign and the Metrobus, which was very impressive. I was driving down Park Avenue and the Metrobus, and I looked at it, had that Fusion, and I said that can't be Mount Pearl, and it was the Mount Pearl AMP and all some information and then the website and everything. So they're doing a great job with the advertising, and they have
They really are.
all kinds of signs around the city as well.
Good. Thank you very much. Any other comment? Hearing none, we'll move on. That concludes Community Services Report. We're moving on to Corporate Services Report. Councillor Akert.
Thank you, Your Worship. Council, the first item for your consideration is the RFP to award for the multifunction printer, copier, and scanners. This is located at the depot. We had one bidder. That would be Pinnacle Office Solutions, and it's within our estimates, and all the minimum specifications have been met. So committee is recommending approval, and I so move.
It is moved and seconded by Councillor Tesser. Can I ask, there doesn't seem to be any price attached. Is there, am I missing something, or
It's incoming right now.
it's incoming?
It was, the price actually was attached in our committee meetings, but it seems to have been omitted here. It's the two devices at the Glacier and Sport Alliance offices that are $125 a month.
Okay.
And the depot is $403.82 a month. All of those prices are actually significantly cheaper than the last contract.
Good. Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else with question or comment? If not, we'll move it. All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
The next item is a motion to approve professional development training for Councillor Stoyles to attend the Athletic Business Conference and Expo from November 12th to 15th, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. All questions? All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
Thank you. Finally, the information in your kit has been amended. That's the invoices for approval. The amount that you see there for the City of St. John's for the Regional Fire Department would be the annual amount, which obviously, 3/4 of the year we wouldn't want to be paying. The amended amount, by the way, for City of St. John's Regional Fire Department is $358,925.08. The second item, Metrobus Transit, for the period of July, $102,621.10 is fine. And the other thing there is $5,068.05 for Public Sector Digest, which is basically a planning analysis license software. I guess that's Reader's Digest for bureaucrats, and I so move.
Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried. Infrastructure. I just said infrastructure, so we're moving along. Infrastructure and Public Works Committee report. Councillor Walsh.
Can be a frustration sometimes, Your
Please
Worship.
save it. Yeah.
I don't know about saving you, but I'll probably hang you out a little further, actually. But the first item I won't. This is the lead flush out. Basically, it's referring to the Summit Center. These are some of the updates on the Summit Center, Your Worship. LEED certification is something that we sought in this facility. And of course, environmentally, that means that the new facility, the Summit Center, will be a marquee facility as far as environmental, environmental controls and operations are concerned. So that's ongoing and just about finalized. It really means that we've had to kind of flush out the building in almost every way, from water to air quality, all those kinds of things had to be done. Occupancy permits are ongoing, and minor outstanding work deficiencies are being corrected. We don't have a timeline, Your Worship, but obviously we're closing in very much on the readiness of that facility to be occupied and operational. It's really only a very short period of time away, and I know we'll all be delighted to see the facility completed, particularly operational, and that's what we're aiming for. In terms of the summer activity report, the mill and fill work is ongoing, just so that you as members of council and the public will know that mill and fill work is a contracted service, I think, is it not, Director? Also, I just want to note, right at the top of Westminster, which is one of the areas that I know we had on the list, that was just completed yesterday or the day before, when it was great to see that done. It had been replaced in the middle of February, in the middle of a storm actually, and they did a great job with it at the time. But of course, in those kinds of severe weather conditions, there's only so much you can do in terms of putting down any kind of blacktop or filling the hole. So it's good to see that that's done. Crews are now moving from placing asphalt to repairing guardrails, which is a good thing. There is an interesting report appended, just if you turn to the next page. It took a little momentum, obviously, a bit of time to get geared up and get people used to the fact that there is a call-in service for the bulk garbage. But the uptake on it, if you go from 8 requests in the first week to 69 requests in week 13, you can see that there was a trend upward. There were some little dips, obviously, throughout that 13-week period, but there was a very healthy trend in terms of an uptake on services. And this, as a call-in service, really prevented a lot of garbage from being out on the sidewalks unnecessarily, and it also provided an opportunity for anybody who needed bulk garbage to be picked up, to have it personalized and picked up on the day of the service. So it didn't need to be out for a week. If we said we'd pick it up on a Wednesday or Tuesday, I think it was Monday actually, was the day, it was the collection day that was set aside. There were a couple of exceptions to that where there were holidays scheduled on Monday. We did a Tuesday pickup. So it really worked well, and I think we'd recommend continuing it for next year as well. In terms of the parks report, I'm not going to read through all these, but 4 of the areas, playground areas, are 3 of them are noted there in terms of where they are in terms of completion. There's a picture of the Babb Crescent playground structure, which is beautiful, obviously very nicely done. I do want to mention and thank our crews. We co-hosted with the City of St. John's the National Baseball Tournament a couple of weeks ago, and we did a lot of work on the field and on the clubhouse hut, the baseball hut, in preparation for that. And we were happy. Yeah, it looks good, and we were happy to be able to, facilitate that and work with staff in doing that. And as far as I know, although the weather was terrible, I do remember during that tournament, I think the tournament went well, and people really appreciated the hospitality and the facilities that we provided for them. That's it for IPW, Your Worship. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have a few items here on our agenda this evening, so I'll get right to them. The first is an application from Carwood Contracting, I should say. It's, of course, a proposed condominium apartment building at 166 Park Avenue. It's a 3-story condominium apartment building that's proposed. We're looking at 48 dwelling units. That's 8 units per floor in each of 2 sections of the proposed building. There are 2 vehicular accesses that are proposed from Riverview Avenue, and parking will be accommodated on-site and underground. There'll be lower level parking underground in the building. Pedestrian access to the building will be from the parking area off Riverview Avenue, and there will be a pathway off Park Avenue where pedestrians can access the facility. Of course, this is formerly the Park Avenue School property. This particular property has gone undeveloped since 1999. Carwood Contracting purchased the land in 2012, as all council remembers, and the land was rezoned to an apartment use zone in 2013. The property is on the north side of Park Avenue. It's west of Winston Avenue and south of Riverview. It's surrounded by a mixture of residential and light commercial uses. Now, of course, as council is aware, it has been identified that there is a storm and sewer surcharge issue in the immediate area of the development. The city is now in the process of addressing the issue with our storm sewer and sump pump project that is ongoing. However, there is, an acknowledgement that there is some temporary on-site treatment for the sanitary sewer that may be required. The developer has indicated that this type of solution can be certainly provided until such time as the sanitary sewer issue is addressed. The department, the Planning and Development Department, has reviewed the application, and they do recommend that the development permit be issued. We discussed it in committee, and our committee certainly concurs with the recommendation. So it is the recommendation of the Planning and Development Committee that the application for a 3-story, 48-unit condominium apartment building at 166 Park Avenue be approved, and that a development permit be issued subject to the requirements and all external authorities in the kit, and I so move.
Second.
Any questions or comments, Your Worship?
Yeah, I just want to make note, I think this went through council, as you said, Councillor Ledwell, back in 2012. And through the rezoning, I think, in the municipal plan amendment process, we were dealing with 2 buildings. But I think basically they were the same size. 2 buildings at 24 for a total of 48. So all we've really done here, there's no difference between this proposal and the previous proposals that we've seen, with the exception they've actually just joined a little foyer onto the back corner of one building and the front corner of another building. So essentially this is exactly the same proposal. It's got indoor parking under both buildings, adequate outdoor parking. My final comment is that the developer knows that, you know, the surcharging is an issue. We've acknowledged it both, you know, with the residents in the area and in the whole development process. The building won't be opening until basically at the time that his own temporary fix is in place, which down the road will mean that that has to be replaced by city capacity, which will be added through the sump pump project that we're on the go right now.
It may not
No?
be necessary to be in place. It's just that we have a
Contingency or
provision that if we don't have the capacity, he is agreed to put it in.
all right. So if we're addressing that issue and the buildings are basically the same as they were before, I'll be supporting the motion.
Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moving right along, we now have an application from Hennebury Engineering and NF Marine Safety Systems. This is for a proposed building extension and update of existing joint access agreement at 8 Kyle Avenue. They're proposing to construct a building extension with a floor area of 335 square meters to the west and to the rear of the existing building on the site. The extension is going to be used to store and repair marine safety supplies such as life jackets, boats and suits, etc. Newfoundland Marine Safety Systems, they already have a joint access agreement in place with the property owners at 12 Kyle Avenue. Now, in order for both businesses to accommodate the required 7-meter turning radius for transport trucks, a new joint access agreement is necessary. Both property owners have already submitted letters of conveyance to the city. Also, a new survey has been prepared, which shows that there should be enough room to accommodate the proposed extension and the proposed turning radius. Now, the subject property is adjacent to and surrounded by uses of a similar nature. It's located in the industrial light use zone, and where it is a continuation of a previously approved use, it certainly fits in with the development that's previously on that site. It is the recommendation of the Planning and Development Committee that a development permit be issued to Hennebury Engineering on behalf of NF Marine Safety Systems to construct a building extension with a floor area of 335 square meters to the west, elevation of the existing building at 8 Kyle Avenue to accommodate a light industry use subject to the conditions as outlined by the Planning and Development Department, and I so move.
Now, it is moved and seconded. Question or comment? All in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
Moving right along, we have a proposed amendment to the development regulations. This is amendment number 40 for 2014, the changeable message sign amendment. Of course, the committee has reviewed the city's sign regulations in relation to the brightness and the brightness of changeable message signs along the roads and highways in our city. Now, this review arose from comments and complaints that have been received both from drivers and from distracted residential property owners. The purpose of the amendment is to regulate the brightness of these changeable message signs in order to minimize the effects by problems identified by drivers and the residents. Now, as part of the review, there was a meeting held on July 8th with representatives from the sign industry. It was noted during this particular review that signs can be dimmed either by photocells, by software, or they can be dimmed manually. It was noted that any typical sign that currently exists can certainly be retrofitted with one of these dimming features. It was also noted that the city could make it a condition of a sign permit that the sign include automatic dimming so that the sign would automatically be dimmed according to lighting. Now, there are a number of proposed changes, therefore, that have resulted from this review. First and foremost, we are proposing a maximum illumination of 1,500 lumens between sunrise and sunset. We are also proposing a maximum illumination of 28 lumens between sunset and sunrise. It is proposed that signs be equipped with technology that automatically adjusts for brightness according to lighting. We're also changing that the fact that signs will now be set back 20 meters from intersections. These changeable message signs will have to be back 20 meters instead of 15. And finally, it is proposed that we add language that states the light from the sign shall not adversely affect neighboring areas. An ad was placed in the Telegram regarding this particular amendment proposed on August 16th. A briefing session was scheduled for September 2nd. No representations were received. So the Planning and Development Committee recommends that the Mount Pearl Development Regulations 2010, Amendment Number 40, be adopted and submitted to the Department of Municipal and Intergovernmental Affairs for registration, and I so move.
I would suggest that if somebody was a business owner and they had one of these signs, one of these illuminated signs on their business, that would actually help their business, because right now at night we're hearing it from people all the time. Those signs are just so bright, so suddenly the message of what the sign is doing is being lost, because what you're seeing is this big glow, and you're not really able to even to absorb what is actually being advertised. Whereas if the lights are dimmed a little bit, suddenly you can actually read it sensibly, and it's not it's not considered to be too bold, too bright, too annoying, too difficult to read. You'll actually be able to read it sensibly, and hopefully that will actually help the businesses that have these signs on them.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, no, I think the committee's done a bang-up job at tackling this issue, because it is an issue in certain places where brightness is too bright, to be frank. My question is when we have a good sign industry here. There's a few players in the market, and they seem to be very, very knowledgeable. But down the road, we get a rogue sign owner or operator. How do we ensure, what do we have in our arsenal to ensure that the 1,500 can be, I don't know, measured or somehow enforced? You know the issue we had down on, I think it was Winston, with the decibel reader to figure out the noise coming? Same kind of deal. Is there a device that we'll be buying, or are we working with the industry on the output? I don't know if the director have any commentary just to alleviate that fear?
Your Worship, no, we don't have any equipment at this point. In our discussions, that is something we could look into. But in our discussions with the sign industry, Councillor Aker is correct. There is only 4 sign companies that really deal with these type of signs. They all attended the meeting, and they were all unanimous in terms of what was needed to address the situation. And as they pointed out to us, for the most part, they're the ones that actually control the setup of these signs. So they really do influence quite a bit the property owner. So on that basis, we brought forward the amendment. And now if we feel that we need to go beyond that, then we'd have to take a look at what kind of equipment we would need to actually read the lumens on the sign face. At this point, yes.
Your Worship, I was at the committee meetings and participated in this discussion, and I was focused primarily on the lumens, actually, because it's the brightness of these signs, as Councillor Tessier said, that really strikes you at night, and almost to the point, as you say, of it eliminates the message, and you become blinded by the sign itself. One of the things that was in committee, I just asked our chair of committee, the 20 meters, Mr. Yevchik, how did that sit with the committee, with the members who were represented from the sign industry? I think they were all there, but one actually was not able to be there. Was there? Is that not the case? And I guess my question or my concern is changing it from 15 to 20 meters back in terms of the signage, the placement of signage. How would that impact current signs? Would it mean that some of the signs that might currently be in place in Mount Pearl, for example, would now not be able to, they would be in the same location perhaps, but would they be able to be accommodated? I'm thinking if 60 or 70 feet back, would a sign have to be posted somewhere on a parking lot, for example, rather than a little closer to the road?
Those that were in attendance at the meeting, they made no comment on it. They were aware of what the changes were, and really the discussion centered not so much on distances as it did on the actual and dimming of the lights at night. That's the information they gave us. The one company that did not attend, they did write us. They did have a follow-up response, and actually one of the comments they did make had to do with the background of the sign, because at one point one of the recommendations was to, if the sign wasn't working properly, that they have an automatic switch that turns the sign into a black face. Apparently not all software has that ability, so they indicated that maybe we shouldn't use it. But in terms of the distance, coming back to that, like I said, there was no comment made. But those that exist today, if they don't comply with that distance, they will be grandfathered in as existing tolerances. So they won't be forced to move at all. Whatever's in place today is in place today. Yeah, it was actually a part of the review we did across the country, and that was more of a standard than what we had, and it had to do with of reducing the amount of brightness or of these type of signs, let's say by intersections along the road, that kind of issue. Right?
Question, Your Worship. Thank you very much. Just to follow up on the intersection there, I mean, Director Yevchek said they'd be grandfathered in. Can we put a provision in, for example, if there's one currently within the 15 meters and it's deemed to be too bright, can we bring in a regulation for the lumens or the brightness of those at the 15-meter mark right now? Might that address the problem? If like if we still have ones there that meet the new recommendation for the lumens, and if they're still too bright.
Yeah, what we would do, Your Worship, is we would, if we've approved them under a previous set of regulations and they exist, then they would be grandfathered in and as they were. If they create a nuisance or a safety hazard, we would then approach the property owner or the owner of the sign and have them, first of all, ask their cooperation to reduce the number of lumens. Yeah, and by the way, that's already been done. I don't know if you recall, there was a sign on Kenmont Road that was very bright, and it was one of the banking institutions that had the sign. We received complaints, we approached them, and that's exactly what they did. They just dimmed the sign at night. The other big issue with these signs, by the way, and this is the problem that the sign industry all said is basically their problem with these signs is when it has a big bright white background, and at night, if you don't turn down the lumens, that's what hits you. That's what hits you really hard, right? So, yeah. So.
Right. Thank you, Your Worship. Vanished, disappeared. All right, we've got just our permit list here, and I've got one other item that's outside of our kit. First of all, the development permit list for the August 25th to September 5th period. You'll see the 4 permits that have been issued there, and I'd like to move those. Next, Your Worship, we have the building construction residential totals for the period of August 24th to September 5th. See there we've had a very busy period on the residential side. The total for the period is $213,200, and I so move. In addition to that, on the commercial side for the same period, the total for the period is $2,057,390, and I so move. Just to wrap up planning, Your Worship, I do have one additional item here. You council will recall a couple of meetings ago we did issue an order to Country Ribbon Incorporated at 1273 Topsail Road. It was regarding some issues with the newly renovated maintenance shop that they have on their property. I'm very happy to report that the issues identified in that order have now been completed or resolved to the satisfaction of the city. So it is the recommendation of the Planning and Development Department and Committee that the above noted order be rescinded, and I so move.
we have a couple of items, Your Worship, and first item is an event. Toronto Dominion Bank actually is hosting a tree planting initiative, and it's going to be in conjunction with the Conservation Corps. And they contacted the city about selecting a location in the city, and of course we had met with them. Connie did, and some of our staff, and we were recommending that Mount Carson Terrace Phase 4 detention pond would be an area where the trees would be planted, and of course Donovan Homes is going to provide $6,000 towards this event, and Toronto Dominion Bank will be planting a large number of trees in the area, and they came in with a full landscape, and would like to say that it's going to take place this Sunday, September the 21st at 9 a.m., rain or shine, and of course inviting members of council to be there, and I understand the Deputy Mayor will be there representing council, and it's certainly a great event, and hats off to Toronto Dominion Bank for taking on this initiative. This is not only just in Mount Pearl, but it's a provincial initiative that Toronto Dominion Bank has taken on for the past number of years, and just want to say great choice and great job out to Toronto Dominion Bank and the Donovan Homes. Donovan Homes had green space that they would have provided anyway, and this is going to be part of their plan. They were to do something in the area, that detention pond, so this was a great fit in to make it all work together and make and have it all completed all at one time, so it's going to be really nice to have that done. Yes, it is. And the only other item we have, of course, Your Worship, is the water levels in Bay Bulls Big Pond. And even though we had a lot of rain over the past number of weeks and that, and August was, was a very wet month, but the pond level is still dropping, and we're asking that our water conservation still stay in place, and if people are still watering their lawns and doing things like that, that they only have certain days to do it, and hopefully, we're not in no major crisis, but we're a bit lower than we were in 2012, and just wanted to have a notice out to the public. And that's it for me, Your Worship.
Can I ask a question on that, Your Worship?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Question?
Just an update on the Bay Bulls Big Pond. Like, what is that servicing right now with Long Pond in Petty Harbour? That they came on stream. So who's being serviced by the Bay Bulls Big Pond right now?
Everybody else.
Everyone else. But wouldn't we have thought that the water levels would have come up a bit? Did they anticipate the same level of demand on that? I was sort of surprised to see that. I know we had. Yes, I realized we had a dry.
There's some growth in the region.
Right.
West of, say, Calamance.
Yes, I understand that, but I'm just wondering if they've looked at it, because I was expecting, when I saw this table, I was expecting to see it considerably higher, given that I suspected that the demand would be lower. Can you speak to that, Councillor Soils?
Yeah, I don't know if I can answer your questions, but I know this year, over the previous 2 years, that Luton and Flower did draw from the water from Bay Bulls Big Pond. Like for a number of years they hadn't taken, because it was such a large amount of water there that they had drawn it down, and maybe that's the reason why it's there. I'm only suspecting that. We haven't had a meeting now since the end of June, so we just get reports from the regional water, but we should be planning a meeting now sometime towards the end of September, and I will check on that for you.
Your Worship. Looking at the chart, the highest water level of the year was really in the month of June. We'll say it was right at the start of summer, 38 feet in the pond. We have had a consistent and significant drop over June, July, into August. August and July itself, it dropped pretty well every day.
With the heat.
Kind of steadied out. And September, that's not enough of a drop from August to actually say this is trending negatively. It's just that it's not going up.
It's not going on.
Kind of sit here at the moment, but certainly when you look at 2009, when we really had a bad season,
You can see the
it's
trend.
a difference. Otherwise, they kind of match in a cyclical sense.
Your Worship, to the Deputy Mayor's point, there's two things happening, right? There's water flowing into the pond from rainfall, some good some months are good and some months are bad. I guess the thing we could do, Councillor Stoyles, is from the regional committee, we could get the consumption levels broken down by community. Because the deputy mayor makes a good point. Because, and I tell you, in our budget, it's costing us because the fixed cost that's at Bay Bulls is now being spread over a smaller amount. Not to say St. John's has lower costs; they may at Bay Bulls, but they had Long Pond, Petty Harbour come on stream, so that was additional cost for them. But the unknown factor, we don't really measure what's going in. We use our gut feeling, and I can tell you August was a rainy month, but I couldn't tell you August 2010 or 11 what that was like. But we could at least get the numbers in terms of consumption.
Yeah.
We will.
Yes.
Well, actually, it was the most rainfall in 30 years. They had the highest amount of rainfall. I know in Gander, since 1984. Yep, yeah, it was. Since 1994. Since 1984, sorry. Yeah.
Well, that's not reflected.
Again, Councillor.
Committee report is Transportation and Public Safety. Councillor Tessier, artiste extraordinaire.
Yeah, extraordinaire, I'm not quite so sure, but anyway. All right, short agenda. The first item is the Huff and Puffin Road Race, which is a marathon, half marathon, and relay. You don't need to huff and puff on that. It's scheduled for Sunday, September 21st. Sunday's a busy day. It's a 7:30 a.m. start. It's starting at the Reed Center. It's going to proceed through some streets in Mount Pearl. It's going to go through Smallwood Drive, Old Placentia Road, Sagona Drive. I should say Sagona Avenue. That doesn't even sound right. Clyde Avenue, Glencoe Drive, Home Street, and Commonwealth Avenue. St. John Ambulance, the RNC, and of course our MEOs are going to be there to support this run. And the second item, right now we have safety checks in place. This is a reminder to all motorists that our MEOs and the RNC are conducting school zone safety checks, targeting speeders, thank goodness, in and around school zones. These safety checks commenced yesterday. So everybody who is driving in a school zone should be aware that they are there. If you are speeding, you are going to be stopped, and hopefully that would be a deterrent for you to do it again.
Your Worship.
Thank you very much.
Housekeeping question.
Housekeeping question, Councillor Raker?
Item number 1 requires, I believe, or does it, a permit because they're running the race?
Yes.
Does council have to approve that permit, or is that at the department level? Just curious.
I think
Does it require a motion is what I'm asking.
Does it require a motion?
No.
I don't think it
No.
does.
As long as they have all their certification in place, that's all
Requires
they
that
need.
they have insurance.
Yeah, that's right.
And if they've done that, it's already go. Okay, thank you. Under new business, Deputy Mayor.
Well, dealing with the topic that Councillor Tessier just mentioned about, speeding in the school zones, I've had a couple of calls actually from some residents on Michener, which is very close to the schools, and again about their concern about speed on that road, and we raised it after our last election campaign, and I said it here publicly that the number one factor or concern that people expressed when I was knocking on doors was speed in all areas of the city. And one mother was concerned because where she lives, her child wants to go to the park and there's no sidewalk on their side of the road, so she's a little alarmed and concerned at the speed. And I know people always say, well, we overestimate the speed and it's not as fast and it's not as bad as we think it is, but they're just wondering about data. Do we have any data? And I'm not suggesting that we put up this big bold sign where people can see that we're tracking their speed. Is there any way we can actually sort of...
I thought our speed signs do that.
The speed signs will provide that data.
But I mean, if we can just inadvertently do it, can we somehow track it without people knowing we're tracking it?
The speed signs do that.
But they still know the speed signs are there. Do you know what I'm saying? The speed signs...
You want to do it in secret.
Yes. I want a covert operation. Yes, to make sure that the data are accurate. Because I can say to other people, well, they're really not speeding. They say, Jim, they're speeding. You know, they're...
Well, we need to set somebody up with a speed radar.
And that's...
But they'll see them as well.
No,
Yeah.
they won't, sitting in a car.
Right, if they can do it covertly. I'm serious. If we can have the data, and then we can say to the resident, listen, we've conducted it, we've taken 500 readings, and X number of people, then we got some data to support our explanation. Because, again, the concerns are the speed on that area. And I saw it in the election campaign when I was knocking door to door in Michener, and I was not comfortable walking on the certain side of the street under because cars are parked, and they were too fast for my comfort level. Now, whether they were speeding, I don't know. But I said to the resident, I certainly would bring it up here today and see if we can, get some data. And I'll get back to them and say, well, based on our, our radar counts.
Let's set up a no-ticket speed trap, you know what I mean? People won't even know the guy was there, sitting in a car in a driveway, on a turn, wherever, and let's spend the day getting the speed. Because I do believe that there is. I believe that there is a sense that people are speeding.
Right.
When in actual fact, if you go to, say, define speed, the speed limit is 40 kilometers, and they're going 44. And 90% of the cars are going 46 to 50 kilometers.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 10%. There's 10% of those guys that are going 75 kilometers.
Mm-hmm.
And that one car screaming by leaves residents, quite frankly, with the impression or opinion that everybody is screaming by.
But if we have the data, we can speak to that.
That might be the case.
You know what I'm saying?
But I think we should have evidence-based,
Right.
Numbers to prove whether what I just said is true or not.
Right. Let the data support it.
That kind of speeding. Well, we're going to have to start taking drastic measures like putting in them silly humps and bumps and all kinds of things.
Well, many people have asked me why we can't have speed bumps, and I know we raised this here before, and people said, well, you'd have speed bumps everywhere and stuff like that. They're in other jurisdictions. They take them up in the wintertime when speeding tends to be less because people are a little more cautious during the wintertime, but it's the summertime. Anyways, I don't want to drag it out, but we'll have a look at the speeding there.
We should actually have our municipal enforcement people do a test for us on a street that shall remain nameless.
Right. So we'll
we
know.
won't do Michener
Right.
with a wink.
Right. And
You
enough.
won't be Michener.
Right.
Okay.
All right. That's the first thing. The second item, Your Worship, had to do with, again, 3 residents commented about the state of our sidewalks on what I call Smallwood Drive Extension, heading up toward the new summit and the motor vehicle registration. They're cracked, they're broken up,
Oh, they're horrible.
and wondering when they're going to be repaired. But also, because I asked this before, and I was told, I believe, that our sidewalks, and Director Entel can confirm this or otherwise, that we should get a 12-year cycle out of our sidewalks. Is that the number that I was told? And if so, are we getting 12 years out of our sidewalks? Because it's a very busy thoroughfare. A lot of people walk that area in the night times. And some people say, Jim, is it due to the fact that you're bringing the big snow blowers up on these sidewalks? And is that cracking up? Is that cracking up the sidewalks? And again, speaking with some engineers, they told me, well, if the base is proper and the concrete is poured proper, that should more than accommodate the weight of these. But something is going wrong. I'd like to know what the life cycle is of our sidewalks in that particular area. Are we seeing more shattering since we brought in the practice of bringing our big snowblowers up? And if they are shattering earlier than normal, can we do something, use a higher strength concrete, or put mesh in the sidewalks, or something to keep the... and my wife, actually, when we were out for a walk the other night, she said, John, why don't you just pave this? But I spoke to Director Entel on that, and he said from an engineering perspective, it's probably less safe with paving because we get more heave and freeze and thaw, so you get a more discontinuous. And with the concrete blocks, when it heaves, the whole unit tends to heave together. So am I accurate on that? So Director Entel, I'm wondering if you could speak to when residents might expect to see some work on these sidewalks.
First thing on the life cycle of the concrete sidewalks, I would approximate it's more than 12 years. We should be in the order of 20 to 30 years on the sidewalks. Property-based compacted is not normally, Deputy Mayor, to do with the steel or the reinforcement of the concrete. It's really the base.
Okay.
If you have the base prepared properly and compacted properly, enough stone and drainage, you can achieve that. When it comes to work on Smallwood Drive Extension, yes, we've identified that as required work. Based on council selected budget priorities this year and the next few years in a multi-year, we didn't get as far as that. Okay. It will be identified in our budget submissions again, and we do consider those projects, that project, to be a next priority for us.
Okay. Thank you. And no, further to that point, Your Worship, on the sidewalks, if we're to get 20 to 30 years, if that's the expectation, and obviously we're not there because those sidewalks were done less than 20 years ago. And again, I've had this from probably 3 or 4 residents. They ask about, if that's the expectation and we get a contractor to do it and it cracks in 5 years, what recourse do we have to head back to this? Like, you know, if we're expecting these sidewalks to last 20 years and they break in 6, can we go back? Is there any sort of warranty, for lack of a better word, for the sidewalks?
No.
Okay.
You right now in our contracts in the province, we have a 1-year general warranty period. What we rely upon is thorough inspection, good design, and we ensure that's followed through. Sometimes what you will see, I'm not sure the life of the existing sidewalks that are there. It may be to do with some of the machines, though I'm skeptical of that. I believe it's to do with the preparation of the basement is done the first time. That's what I believe it is.
Okay.
So to get longer warranties, if we wish to, that's a challenge that you might have with provincial standards. I mean, they establish the warranty periods that we have to abide by. You can start to approach the industry to start considering longer periods of warranties. I would imagine that's going to face a lot more challenge. It's to do with proper inspection and good design in the first place.
It's just frustrating because, I mean, these projects, I mean, they're $1 million projects. You're paying a lot of money to get these sidewalks in. And if the expectation is 20 years, it's like getting your roof done. I mean, if your shingles say 25 years and you're paying a roofer to do that, and your shingles blow off or you get a leak in 3 years, well, you're going to be a little upset. So I think the residents of Mount Pearl should have, you know, better results from the contracts that they're letting. I guess there's a frustration there, given the fact that it's a 1-year warranty, and there's really no recourse that we can go through for this large-scale, very expensive work that we're doing. It's like we've got to say, oh, well, you know, concrete cracks sometimes. So then we got to pay for a job that we shouldn't be paying for every 8-10 years when it's supposed to last 20 to 30.
I would suggest that it has to do with thorough inspections again, but at the time, say, if it's a 1-year general warranty, when you get to your 10-month warranty expiry, if you want to call it, close to that completion,
right,
identify deficiencies then. And we've been doing that, and that's the kind of things that you need to follow through on. If you get it through that 12 months, that's generally the view. If you get it through 12 months and it's performing satisfactory, it will continue to perform.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So we're looking at budget time. We'll have a look at the sidewalks and see. The next item, Your Worship, has to do with the dog park. Of course, rave reviews on the dog park. Speaking with some colleagues at the school there, and one gentleman even said that was the main reason why they chose to move to Mount Pearl, believe it or not, was the dog park. I mean, they're absolutely amazed at it. But then another resident asked if there was something we could do with the gate on the section of the dog park for smaller dogs, because their dog escapes. The dog goes under the fence and runs off. The little tiny dogs, right? So I said, well, what? I said, well, I don't think we do that.
That won't work.
No, definitely not. I'm not even going down that path. So I suggested, well, what do you propose? And another person said, but Jim, there's nothing you can do because they will dig down, they will dig under the gate. But is there some way we could put a pad of concrete in, say, 12 inches on either side of where the gate opens, that would prevent the dog from digging under? Is there? I said I would bring it up, and we'll bring it to committee and have a look and see what we can do.
And we also, of course, still need to put together some kind of a strategy on how we're going to maintain the dog park over winter months.
Right.
We obviously have a man systems for that. Lord knows, I think we all heard about it enough last year.
Right.
About the gates not being really usable. We didn't clean it out, et cetera, and so on. Recognition of our winter reality. We have to do something. Not sure what, Jerry. I'm not sure. But some portion, some part, or all of that dog park, we've got to make accessible.
Oh, we did make it accessible last year, but we posted signs that users used it at their own.
Yeah, we need to do something.
Well, there's huge cost implications, Your Worship, to try to clear that dog park all winter.
I accept that.
So that's something that we can look at committee, Councillor Walsh, and then, we'll have to flesh it out at budget time.
What we did last year seemed to work reasonably well. The
Yeah.
people who wanted to use it could access it.
One of the things that our citizens came to us and said in droves last year is that they want that dog park accessible.
Right.
They want pet owners who use it, want it accessible. Is there a way that we can provide a better service than we're providing now once winter comes? That's the
Fair enough.
question.
Yep. We'll have a look at that. And the last one, Your Worship,
No.
to end on a good note, I had the privilege this past Saturday of attending the renaming ceremony down at
Yes, I wish I could.
at the Team Guju complex. We renamed the Upper Smallwood soccer field to the Ed Moist soccer field. It was a great turnout. It was a great day. The weather cooperated, and it was nice to see that there was a lot of soccer Hall of Famers there, a lot of friends of Ed from over the years. One gentleman even drove as far as Harbour Grace to come in and attend the event. We had the little kiddies there because it was Super Soccer Saturday, so we were giving out some medals. So it was a really, really nice event, and I got a lovely email from Ed's son Andrew expressing just how pleased that the family was and how pleased Ed was. He's one of these quiet men, and he doesn't show his emotions, but Andrew said he was truly appreciative of what the city did, and they thought it was a great honour, and we know the work that Ed has done, so it was truly a delight to be there. I know some of the councillors were out of town, had work commitments, but they appreciated, and they said this down, that it was a very kind gesture on council's behalf to go ahead with this renaming. So yeah, that's it for your worship. Thank you.
We have others to do.
Yes.
We have others to do, but I will tell you that Moise is more than deserving of being recognized and honored by this community in some appropriate fashion. His contribution has been outstanding. I know you want to today to pass that on to people there. This community is quite proud of it. Having that facility named the Moise Field, why not? And I know his family is so proud of it. Councillor Scott.
I just have a couple of things. First thing I want to mention that some have been over now, a lot of groups and organisations are getting on the go again. Officially, yeah. Well, the 17th of September. The 17th of September, North East Avalon Joint Council will be starting again, and because summer's up, and they wanted me to mention that anybody who would like to come to the meeting is going to be in Torbay, and I want to mention that. I also want to mention, and it was mentioned briefly today, about all the boxes that was painted by the artists, and of course Paolo painted one of the boxes, and I want to say great job to all the artists, especially to Paolo as well. But it's so nice when you drive around the city and see the colourful boxes, and a great job, and I know we have a large number of them to paint, and maybe we're still looking for artists to do some more, but I think it's great to see the initiative taking place. Also, your worship, I wanted to pass on my sympathies to the Lala and Mackey family. Sandra Young and Marion Joy's mum passed away, and of course a large number of the Mackeys live in Mount Pearl, moved to Mount Pearl originally from Kilbride and Southside Road, and I know Marie Woodrow was her sister, and a number of Bertie Fagan, and a large number of the Mackeys live in Mount Pearl and have been here for 40, 50, 60 years, because they moved here when they married and whatnot, and it was certainly sad to see Brodie's passing on the weekend, and she was buried on Monday morning. And her daughters are quite active in the community and in the Connect group, and and her sisters Ned are quite active in the churches here in the community, and she certainly will be missed. And lastly, your worship, and I normally don't do this in the public chamber, but I'm going to make an exception today. But I want to wish you a happy birthday, your worship. Mr. Sims had his 60th birthday on Saturday, so he's part of our seniors now.
That's the new 50. Don't worry about it.
60's new 40.
He spent his day flying. Spend it wisely.
No, you can't spend it, he taxes it back. He just gives it over here.
It's taxable income, yeah.
See what I can do.
Where am I going? Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Worship. Just one thing. I had a nice email, actually, from Corona Brophy, whom we all know from the Celtic Fiddlers, passing along some accolades, including particularly the boxes, the painting of the boxes, and the state of the city generally. But one of the things she mentioned was, in the form of a question, what about the fencing, excuse me, by Dodge City? And it seems to be falling down and in a state of disrepair. It is a major gateway into the city. What, if anything, are we doing about that? And so I just want to raise that here today on her behalf, because she asked me to raise it. And maybe we'll refer it to committee for some follow-up. just to see what exactly is being done. Obviously, Dutch City has been a long-time commercial tenant in Mount Pearl. They're a great corporate citizen. For them as well, it reflects badly, I guess. So let's check into some of the details of it, whether it was a fence that was part of a permit for operation or whatever the case may be, whether it was their responsibility, whether it was a public fence, I'm not sure. But we will look into it and see what's there. And I just wanted to raise this on behalf of Ms. Brophy, who was good enough to as I said, pass along mostly accolades, but one question. So I wanted to raise the question.
I believe Jerry has that issue from there a while ago, don't you? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I was going to say I brought that to committee the whole back a couple of weeks ago about the fence and that, and a couple of other issues that Ms. Brophy had brought to our attention, and so just wondering. Oh, that's the problem. It is a private fence.
Yeah, just, I want to congratulate Ed Moist on the well-deserved accolades. I know when we all went to there was a Soccer Hall of Fame event a couple of years ago, and Ed was one of the people who was acknowledged. And I think there might have been 4 or 6 people acknowledged that night, and cumulatively, I think they had like over 200 years of volunteer service.
Hopefully it was more than 4.
Right, it was some, but I mean, Ed has been with soccer for
40-odd years.
40-odd years. I mean, so when you think about it, if you're dedicating that much time to a volunteer organization, boy, I tell you, you are certainly committed. So I had to work on Saturday, and unfortunately couldn't be there, but I wanted to extend my congratulations. We've referenced painting the boxes. When you're outside for any period of time at a major intersection in Mount Pearl, or I guess anywhere in the region, but I've had personal experience with it now, I'm noticing that emergency vehicles are not necessarily being yielded to properly in the city. And I'm seeing that now on several occasions, being outside for a length of time and seeing, of course, the fire trucks in particular coming down Ruth, probably heading towards the hospital or responding to an emergency. I had a chat today with Fire Chief Peach when he was here for the Citizen Alert announcement. And he said that they see it as well all the time. People are not yielding properly to emergency vehicles sometimes. So it might be an education piece, it might be an awareness piece. I know that they've tried exhaustively to get the message out there that you do need to move away. You need to move and give an emergency vehicle the right of way, because no matter where you're going, if there's something coming behind you with lights and sirens going on, they're going somewhere more important than you at that point. There's nowhere that you're going that's more important than where they're going. So I know that the fire department would certainly be glad to speak with people if they're unsure of the rules, if they're unsure of what to do, if you're stopped at an intersection, there's a red light, and there's cars in all directions, and you don't quite know what to do, have a chat with them. They'd be happy to inform you on what you need to do in those situations, because I've seen it repeatedly. It's a concern for them. It's certainly a concern for me now. I mean, I've seen it so many times, and I'm sure that if anybody is the person who's waiting for that vehicle to respond to them, it would be of great concern to them as well. Yes. Anyway, it's a very important piece.
Legislation was passed in May, June.
Yes. Move to the right. Anyway.
All done. Thank you, Councillor Aker.
Yeah, a couple of things, Your Worship and Council. It was great to see that field renamed, I must say, after Ed Moist. Ed Moist never really, he didn't care about the artificial turf, and I'm not really, casting any negative comments towards Ed, but he loved Upper Smallwood. That was a great field, and a lot of senior soccer, a lot of tot soccer has been played there. But Ed leaves more than just a legacy, in terms of the field. For example, Councillor Walsh mentioned earlier on that the National Baseball Championships were held in Mount Pearl St. John's, or St. John's Mount Pearl, there in August, and Mount Pearl Soccer will be hosting the Under-16 National Club Championships in October on Thanksgiving weekend, as well as I think the Marlins are hosting the Eastern Canadian Long Course Championship sometime late February, early March, I believe, at the new Summit Center. So, a father of our sport in Mount Pearl, even though Ed was focused primarily on just soccer, his legacy lives on in more ways than we realize. Our sport community has really grown, and partly because, to give the city a bit of credit, as well as the sports organizations, to all the fine facilities that we've built here. But Ed Moist certainly would be considered one of the founding fathers of sport in the city, not just of soccer, right? The other thing, a couple of residents have mentioned to me about timing of lights. I think one is at the corner of Actually, they're both on Richard Nolan. One at Richard Nolan and Old Placentia, and the other is the lights, I think, at Richard Nolan and Commonwealth Avenue. I think that light intersection in particular tends to, every now and then, I don't know if it's a bolt of lightning or if it's some glitch in the system, seems to get reset to its default. Could I ask the committee or maybe just the director if he could follow up? The other lights over there at Old Placentia and Richard Nolan, is that a new sequence that's in play there? And basically, I wonder if the left-hand turn activation is working over there. That's what the resident asked me if I'd bring to council. I think Tina O'Day might be following it up. We haven't heard any news on that one yet.
There's a couple of intersections, traffic signals that are actually traffic activated. Okay, we've had that in place for maybe those traffic signals for a number of months, but we had to put signs on to advise people. You might have seen the signs. It says traffic activated signals. So once we have the signs up for a period, we'll turn them on. They may have been actually switched on. Once they're on, the timing obviously changes based upon traffic activation. Okay, so for council's purpose, I'll get the accurate information of those signals and let you know when they're there.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of very quick items. I too want to add my congratulations to Mr. Moist on the renaming of the soccer field. I know a lot has been said here this evening and on Saturday as well about how much of an honour this is, and certainly all the accolades are well deserved. But I think the truest way to I guess indicate as to how long and how much service Mr. Moist has given to soccer in Mount Pearl is the fact that his son Andrew has now grown up and been inducted into the Hall of Fame himself. So that's an indication that Mr. Moist and his family have certainly been real pillars for soccer and for sport in Mount Pearl, as Councillor Raker references. So congratulations once again. One very quick item, and it's just a quick shout out publicly to the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce on their business expo that's coming up at the Reed Centre, and I guess as part of our Summit Centre there on the 24th of September. This is going to be their first business expo. There are currently 36 businesses from Mount Pearl and surrounding areas that have registered to be a part of this particular show. It's going to be an excellent platform for local businesses to get in touch with each other, to network, and certainly to raise awareness about their products and services that they offer. So I just want to encourage businesses and the public to get out and to come up and check out some of these local businesses. Certainly a great initiative by the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A couple of myself at the table. As you know, I wasn't able to attend the actual renaming of the field and the honors presented to Ed Moist on the weekend. I was in Saguenay, Quebec, about 200 miles north of Quebec City, in my role as a member of the board of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. One of the things that came up at that meeting that I want to ask all members of council here, most of you have heard of an SCM program called Hometown
just want to ask one question, and I think the biggest concern on the Citizens Alert is when people send in their information, because a lot of people got private phone numbers now and private cell numbers, just that we will inform them that when they submit them to us, they won't be sold or they won't be given out. There's going to be a secured. Just want to make sure that that's out there to the public, because once we do it, and we've already started today, and but we need to ensure the residents, when they come forward and give us their information, that they're not hounded by people calling with telemarketers and things like that, because that's a lot of people want their private phone numbers kept private and they don't want them given out.